Have you ever noticed how some people seem to just figure money out? They don't win the lottery, they don't have rich parents, they just somehow go from constantly being broke to having savings, investments, options. Meanwhile, everyone else feels like they're running in place. They get a paycheck, pay bills, maybe save a little, and still end up wondering where all the money went. It's frustrating because you're working hard, you're not doing anything crazy, and yet somehow your bank account doesn't look like it belongs to a responsible adult. The truth is, nobody ever taught you the real sequence of how wealth actually builds. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens in steps, like a ladder, and if you skip a step, you fall. My name is Michael, and I help people understand money the way school never did, calmly, realistically, without the fake motivational nonsense. Because once you understand the math behind each stage of wealth, you stop guessing. You stop hoping things will just work out and start making your money do what it's supposed to do, grow. Let's break down the ladder from 0 to 10,000 to 100,000 the way it actually works in real life. Stay with me, because each rung of this ladder feels completely different, and if you don't adjust your mindset at each stage, you'll get stuck. Stage 1, from $0 to $10,000, the survival stage. Look, when you're starting from zero, the rules are different. You don't need a financial plan, you need a financial triage, because this stage isn't about growth, it's about control. The first goal is simple: stop the bleeding. That means cutting off everything that's quietly stealing your money every month. Subscriptions, random Amazon orders, overpriced takeout, all the little things that somehow add up to hundreds. Most people never move past this stage because they confuse being busy with being effective. They'll read 10 financial blogs, download 3 budgeting apps, and still overspend every weekend because it's been a long week. What you actually need is brutal clarity. Track every single dollar that leaves your account for 1 month. Don't judge it, just watch it. That data is going to tell you more about your financial habits than any guru ever could. Here's the thing most people don't want to admit. Your first 10,000 isn't about income, it's about behavior. You can't out-earn bad habits. You can make 50,000 a year and still be broke if you refuse to manage what's already in your hands. So the game here is to create margin, the gap between what you earn and what you spend. Every dollar that doesn't get spent is a brick in your foundation. Example, if you earn $3,000 a month and you can free up just $500, that's $6,000 per year. You've just built a clear runway to hit $10,000 in less than 2 years without working extra hours, without side hustles, just through discipline. That's the part nobody likes hearing. Because discipline is boring, but boring is what works. Emotionally, this stage sucks. It feels like you're sacrificing all the time and getting nowhere. You're skipping dinners out, saying no to plans, cutting corners on things you want, and for what? A couple $100 sitting in a savings account. But this is the price of stability. The first 10,000 teaches you control, and control is worth more than the money itself. Because if you can't control a few $100s, you'll never control a few $100,000. Here's where most people mess up. They treat saving as optional, like something they'll do when they have extra. There is no extra. There never will be. You decide to save first, and then you live on what's left. Reverse the order, and you'll be broke forever. So the rule for stage 1 is simple: automate it. Set up an automatic transfer the day your paycheck hits, even if it's $50. Don't rely on motivation, rely on systems. Because motivation dies the moment you see something shiny on sale. Systems don't. Once you've built your first emergency cushion, usually around $1,000 to $3,000, keep building until you cross that 10,000 mark. That's your launch pad. You're still not rich, but you've proven you can keep money, and that's more impressive than most people realize. Stage 2. From $10,000 to $25,000, the stability stage. This is where the air starts to clear. You're no longer drowning, but you're still not free. You've got a small safety net now, and that changes how you feel about everything. Emergencies aren't full-blown crises anymore. A car repair doesn't destroy your month. You're finally out of survival mode. Here's the danger though: comfort. This is when people start relaxing. They see 5 digits in their bank account and think they're financially set, so they start spending again. They upgrade their phone, their wardrobe, maybe their apartment, and just like that, they slide back down the ladder. This stage is about protecting your progress. You've built momentum, now you have to defend it from lifestyle creep. That's the quiet killer. Lifestyle creep is when your spending automatically expands with your income. You get a raise, you move to a nicer place. You get a bonus, you upgrade your car. You're not technically broke, but you're still on the treadmill, earning more just to maintain the same level of stress. Here's what you do instead. Keep your expenses the same for 1 full year. Doesn't matter if your income goes up, pretend it didn't. Funnel every extra dollar towards savings and debt payoff, because once you eliminate high-interest debt, that freed up money becomes fuel. It's the difference between pushing a car uphill and driving it on cruise control. Let's talk numbers. Suppose you've got $10,000 saved. You're contributing $500 a month. At a 5% return in a simple investment account, that becomes about $16,000 in 2 years. Add in consistent contributions, and you'll be hovering around $25,000. Nothing flashy, just steady progress. The emotional payoff here is huge. You go from feeling anxious about money to feeling quietly confident. You start noticing how other people live, how often they complain about being broke while holding a $7 coffee. You stop chasing trends because you've realized that every purchase has a cost beyond the price tag. It delays your freedom. That mindset shift is the real milestone here. You're not chasing money anymore. You're building leverage. Here's where it gets interesting. With $25,000 saved, you suddenly have options. You can start investing seriously, take advantage of employer retirement matches, open an index fund, or even start setting aside money for a down payment on something that produces value, like property or a small business. You're still early, but the foundation is solid. Stage 3, from $25,000 to $50,000, the acceleration stage. This is when your money starts working for you, just a little, but enough to notice. Your investments are actually growing, not just from your contributions, but from returns. Compound interest is starting to wake up. Here's the math. At an average annual return of 7%, $25,000 turns into about $50,000 in roughly 7 years, even if you don't add much. But if you keep contributing monthly, that timeline shrinks dramatically. This is when most people start realizing wealth isn't just about how much you earn, it's about how early you start and how consistent you stay. Real-life example. Say you keep putting $500 a month into a simple index fund. Over the next 5 years, that's $30,000 in contributions. Add a 7% annual return, and you're sitting around $45,000 to $50,000 total. You didn't win the lottery, you just kept showing up. Emotionally, this stage feels different. You stop checking your account every day because you trust the process. You start thinking long-term, 5 years, 10 years out. You're no longer reacting to every market dip or news headline because you understand volatility is just noise. Most people never reach this level of calm because they never stay in the game long enough. This is also when you start noticing something subtle. Your social life changes. You stop relating to people who constantly complain about money or brag about stuff they can't afford. You gravitate toward people who talk about investing, business, or life design instead of just what's trending on Netflix. That's how you know your mindset has leveled up. The risk at this stage isn't spending, it's distraction. You'll start hearing about all kinds of next-level investments, crypto, options, flipping houses, whatever's hot. Stay grounded. The fastest way to destroy momentum is chasing shortcuts. You don't need complicated investments, you need consistent ones. So the rule for this stage is simple. Automate your investing and forget about it. Your future self will thank you. Stage 4. From $50,000 to $100,000, the momentum stage. Here's where the compounding really starts to show. At $50,000 invested, a modest 7% return gives you $3,500 a year, almost $300 per month, just for existing. That's the point where your money officially starts earning its own paycheck. This is when people around you start noticing something's different. You're calmer. You're not stressed about bills. You say no to things without feeling guilty. You have options, and options are the real definition of wealth. But here's the part nobody talks about. The journey from 50 to 100,000 feels faster, but also emptier in some ways. Because you realize money doesn't solve everything. It just removes the constant background noise of stress. That silence is nice, but it can also feel weird. So this stage is about purpose. You've proven you can manage money. Now you need to decide what that money is for. Is it to buy freedom? To support family? To start something meaningful? Because once you pass 100,000, the decisions you make start shaping the rest of your financial life. This is where people either become builders or consumers. Builders keep going. Consumers plateau. Mathematically, it's still the same system. Consistent investing, compound growth, time. But emotionally, the game changes. You stop thinking like a saver and start thinking like an investor. You realize cash sitting in a checking account is losing value to inflation. You understand that every dollar needs a job to earn, to grow, or to protect. Idle money is lazy money. Here's the kicker. Once you hit 100,000, the next 100,000 comes faster, much faster, because your returns start outpacing your contributions. You're now earning thousands in passive growth each year. It's like reaching the top of a hill. Gravity starts working in your favor. So the rule here is to double down on simplicity, automate contributions, reinvest dividends, and ignore market noise. You don't need to time the market, you just need to give it time. Stage 5. The psychology of the ladder. Let's talk about what's actually happening beneath the surface as you climb. The numbers are obvious, but the mindset evolution is where the real transformation happens. At 0, money is emotional, it's stress, guilt, frustration. At 10,000, it becomes relief. At 25, it's confidence. At 50, it's pride. At 100, it's freedom. Each stage rewires how you think about money, risk, and reward. Here's what's wild. Your habits don't change because you have money. You have money because your habits changed. People who stay broke often think the problem is income. If I just made more, I'd save more. But the truth is, if you can't save 10% of your current income, you won't save 10% of a bigger one either. You'll just scale your spending. That's why the ladder method works. It forces you to master each stage before moving up. If you try to jump ahead, you'll collapse under the habits you never built. Stage 6. The common traps that keep you stuck. There are 3 traps that quietly destroy progress on this ladder. First is comparison. You'll see people your age buying houses, driving luxury cars, traveling constantly, and you'll start questioning your progress. What you don't see is their debt, their payment plans, their quiet panic at the end of the month. Comparison is a liar. Your only metric is whether you're better than you were a year ago. Second is comfort. Once you feel stable, it's tempting to coast. You stop tracking, stop learning, stop growing. You tell yourself you're fine, and for a while, you are. Until inflation, layoffs, or life changes remind you that fine isn't safe. Keep pushing. The ladder doesn't stop at 100,000. It just gets steeper. Third is distraction. The internet is full of fast wealth. Day trading, meme stocks, get-rich-quick schemes. They all promise shortcuts up the ladder. But the ladder is supposed to be slow. It's built for stability, not speed. Every shortcut you take comes with a hidden risk that can knock you back down to 0. Stay boring. The boring path is the one that actually works. Stage 7. Turning the ladder into a flywheel. Once you reach 100,000, something magical happens. Compound interest starts doing the heavy lifting. That's when you transition from climbing to cruising. But don't confuse cruising with stopping. At this level, your goal shifts from saving to optimizing. You start asking smarter questions. Is my money in the right places? Are my returns keeping up with inflation? Can I take advantage of tax-advantaged accounts like a Roth IRA or a 401? This is where you learn the difference between building wealth and preserving it. Early on, you're focused on offense, earning, saving, growing. Later, you add defense, protecting, diversifying, planning. And this is when most people finally realize the secret that wealthy people have known forever. Money is just a tool. It's not the goal. The goal is time, freedom, the ability to make choices without panic. That's what the ladder was always leading to. So let's zoom out. Going from 0 to 100,000 isn't about luck, timing, or fancy investment strategies. It's about patience and process. Stage 1. Control your spending and build your first 10,000. Stage 2. Stabilize and eliminate debt. Stage 3. Automate investing and let compound interest start working. Stage 4. Maintain discipline as your money begins to multiply. Stage 5. Master your mindset so you don't sabotage yourself. Stage 6. Avoid comparison, comfort, and distraction. Stage 7. Optimize, diversify, and protect. That's the ladder. Simple, predictable, effective. But here's the part that might surprise you. Once you reach 100,000, the goal stops being about money altogether. It becomes about peace. You stop chasing numbers and start chasing meaning. Because at the end of the day, the real flex isn't looking rich. It's not being stressed. You don't need to look successful. You just need to stop being worried. That's wealth.